In this next video, we will add roof and trims to our project. We will also learn how to add different basic roof shapes, including roofs for dormers. For basic roof shapes, the standard roof tools are located under the Modeling tab, Floor and Roofs, Select Roof. Here you'll find various tools for adding gables, hips, and various roof shapes. There's also a roof generator for creating complex roofs. Let's start by confirming that we are in the roof layout. So select the drawing model pair and select Roofs. Select the F2 key to switch to the 3D view. We'll cover the process for adding both a truss roof and a rafter stick frame roof, as well as adding ceiling framing. Let's start with the roof generator. Let's go up to Roof. We could use the basic gable or hip roof shapes to create the roof, but we will use the roof generator to learn the settings. Right mouse click to bring up the roof generator menu. In this menu you have trusses, so if we want to start with the truss system. We have the rafter button if we want to add rafters. Next we have edit roof parameters. We can assign a roof overhang. There's also a couple of presets. This one's a 2-inch roof overhang, and this is a 12-inch roof overhang. And we have add by points. So if we want to locate our roof by adding points, this is useful if you want to add the roof in the 2D view. Next we have add using walls. This is useful if you want to add walls in the 3D view. You can add a roof by selecting lines. And we have the roof overhang by exterior line of wall. At any time when you're working with the roof generator, you can always right click to come back to this menu. Let's go ahead and select trusses. Under roof parameters, you have two tabs, one for common roofs and special roofs. Let's start with the special roofs. Special roofs are for the barn and mansard roof styles. On the left, you have the hip settings for the barn. And over to the right, you have the pitch setting for the mansard. Now to know what these are referring to, you can select the special roofs. A window opens displaying a diagram with a description of what each setting controls for each roof type. Let's close out of that. Let's go back to the common roofs, since this is where we will make most of our adjustments. We have the parameter set name, the type, indicating that this is a truss system, the material code. We have a 2x4 shingle selected. You'll want to select something that correlates with the depth of the top chord. So in this case, we're going to assume that the top chord is a 2x4. Now, if you wanted to select a different depth, just hit the select button. And I'll take you to the standard structures, roofs, and then you can select a different depth. I'm going to hit cancel. To change the material for the top chord in the steel version of BD, click on the select button. Under standard structures, go to roofs CC. Let's go ahead and select the first option, the 350S 162-43 CC or C channel. That will give us a 3.5-inch top chord truss with 1/2-inch roof sheathing, and select OK. We have the size of the top chord, the pitch. We'll leave it at a 612, and we have the fascia height. We can also specify the eave type, if it's a vertical eave or if it's perpendicular to the slope. Over to the right, we have several parameters that we need to set. We have the plate height, eave height, overhang, over the wall height, and a butt cut. Now, if we were in the rafter system, our parameters would be slightly different. If you're not sure what these settings are referring to, you can select the Help button, and that brings up a diagram with the description of the parameters. We have the size of a top chord, the fascia height, the overhang, plate height, what a butt cut is, and that's the distance between the top plate and the bottom of the chord. And then you also have over the wall height, which is the distance of the top plate and the top of the chord. You'll notice in the parameters window you can select either the butt cut or the over the wall height. Close out of that. We'll go with the butt cut and leave it at 6 inches, or type in 6 inches. Overhang, we'll keep it at 12 inches. We have plate height. We will get the plate height information from the model. For eave height, we will select Calculate to have Vertex determine what our eave height is based on our other input. So let's get the plate height, and we'll select it from the 3D view. You can also select it from the 2D view, but we'll go with the 3D view. Click on the top of the wall and select Calculate. Now that we have our parameter set, we'll select OK. Right-click to confirm that we're adding by walls. And now select our wall. Now, if it doesn't look like it selected the wall correctly, you can always hit Ctrl-Z to go back. And if you need to, you can rotate your model. And as you're selecting, you will see a black line appear. The black line indicates the offset of the eave from the exterior wall. Our next selection follows the location of the cursor along the eave line. Since the cursor is on this end, we'll want to select the next adjacent wall. So we'll click this wall, rotate, select this wall, and that should do it. Hit V to confirm. And now we have an outline of the roof. This is called a sketch roof. At this stage, it is a rough outline of the roof made up of planes. Other adjustments can be made before converting it to a roof. Let's zoom back out. Before we convert the surfaces to a roof model, we can make any changes to the roof sketch, such as eave overhangs, change the roof pitch, the gable type. These changes can be made in the 2D or in the 3D view. Hit escape to get out of the command. I was still in the roof parameters command. Now we can select our sketch roof. If we want to make any changes to the roof, we can hover over one of the grip points on the eave. You can right click and you can see that you can move the edge. You can change the gable type. You can change it to a hip, a gable, mansard, a Dutch. You can remove the gable. You can edit the eave line, make some additional modifications, or go back to the roof parameters window and make your adjustments there. In this case, I want to select this end and change this to a gable. So I'll click and hover over that grip point, right click and change that gable type to gable, and do the same thing on the opposite side. Right click, whoops. Right click and select gable. And now you see that we've made that modification. And that's all the changes that we need to make for this roof. So we'll select the sketch roof, right click, and convert the surfaces to a roof. And you'll see our sketch roof has been converted to the roof. When framing a roof with trusses and you have a gable wall, you'll notice there's an opening underneath the roof. Most likely you'll have a truss over this wall. We can extend the sheathing and the siding up to the bottom of the roof to cover this opening. Let's start with the sheathing. So let's hide the siding. So with the cursor over the wall, select the letter H. That will hide the siding. Now we can work with the sheathing layer. Click on the layer. That first selects the wall. Click on it again, and that will select the sheathing layer. Now we can either right click or come up to the top menu and select stretch. And now we want to stretch that to the roof. We'll select the roof, keep your finger on the control key and select the other roof. Right click and V to confirm. And which end of the wall? We want the top of the wall to extend up to the roof. Select OK. If we hit escape, you see that the siding has not changed, but the sheathing extends up to the roof. Now with the siding visible, we can click to select the wall, click again to select the siding, and do the same thing. We'll come up to stretch to roof, select our roof, control key to select the other roof, right click, V to confirm. And again, which end of the wall? The top. And now if we click or escape, the siding and the sheathing now extend up to the roof. Now we can restore the roof shape. If you select the wall, right click, and select Disconnect from Roof. And you see that the wall is back to the default configuration. I'm going to delete the roof, and we're going to go through the process again, but this time we're going to add a rafter system. So I'm going to zoom out. When using a truss system, you do not need to add ceiling joists, but in this case, we're going to switch to a rafter system. So before we do that, we need to add our ceiling joists. We need to go to the correct drawing model pair. So we'll select drawing model pair, and we want to go to the second ceiling layout. Now we can go ahead and add our ceiling joist to this layout. The ceiling joist can be found at the same location with the roof under the modeling, floor, and roof. You'll see that we have ceiling. We have our standard structures and our ceilings. Let's go ahead and scroll down and find a 2x8 framing 1/2-inch drywall. In the previous video, we added ceiling material to the model. Since we already have ceiling material, we can remove the drywall. So we'll select sheathing, ceiling drywall, right click, and delete. And now we will add the ceiling framing to the model. Select OK. In steel framing, you'll most likely be working with steel trusses. We'll go through the process of adding steel rafters and steel ceiling joists so that you know how it can be achieved in Vertex BD. To add ceiling joists in the steel version, under Standard Structures, let's go to Ceilings CC. Now let's go ahead and find an 8-inch deep ceiling system. So we'll scroll down and let's select the 800 S162 43 CC for C-channel with 1/2-inch drywall. Since we already added drywall in the model, we can go ahead and remove this layer. So click on the ceiling drywall layer, right click, and select OK. Now we can right click to bring up the menu. Confirm that horizontal area by bottom plane is enabled, and also add using walls is set. You can go ahead and add linked walls. Select a wall. Once all the walls are selected, right click and V to confirm. And now we have our ceiling. Now let's go ahead and add our roof. We'll change the drawing model pair. Select roof. Let's go up to the roof menu and select roof generator. Right click and select rafter. Now you see the roof parameters slightly different. We no longer have the over the wall height or butt cut parameters. We now have a seat cut parameter. Now, if you want to see what that's referring to, you can select the help button under the common roofs. And you see the seat cut is the cut of the rafter where it is resting on the wall. So you can set that width. Let's close this window to go back to the parameters. The type is now set to rafters. For the material code, we have a 2x10 shingle roof. If you want to make that change, you can hit the select button, but we'll leave it as a 2x10. To change the size of the rafters in the steel version of BD, next to the material code, click on the select button. Under Standard Structures, let's go to Roofs CC. Let's find a system that's 10 inches deep. So we'll scroll down to the 1000 S200-43 C channel. This will give us a 10-inch rafter with 1/2-inch sheathing and shingles on top. Select OK. We've got the rafter size, the pitch, fascia height. Eave type is set to vertical. All of these settings are from the previous roof input. Let's go ahead and set up these parameters. We'll start by getting the plate height. Select the Get button from 3D, and we'll select a wall. Now that does not look correct. It grabbed the wall height from a wall on the first level. To resolve, select the Get button again. From 3D, let's try this wall. That's much better. We'll leave the overhang at 12 seat cut at 5.5, and we'll hit calculate. And we'll select OK. I'm going to select this wall here to begin with, and that is not correct. It drew the overhang out in the middle of nowhere, so it Control Z to go back. And let's try that wall. There we go. That looks better. Let's try this wall. Now, if you get this previous eave parallel with digitized element selection not valid, it selected some wall that's parallel with the wall that was previously selected. So just select OK and try rotating and getting a better view. There we go. I'll select the next wall. Again, that's not correct. Control Z. And that happens when you have a lot of other walls, like interior walls, that may select the wrong wall. You'll just have to select Control Z to undo the selection and pick a different point on the wall. There we go. And let's try that. Nope. There we go. And V to confirm. Now you see that we have our sketch roof. I'm going to hit escape to cancel the roof generator command. I'll select this sketch roof, change the hips to gable. So I'll right click over the eave grip point, change that to a gable. Same thing on the other side. Right click, change that to a gable. And while the sketch roof is selected, right click, we'll convert surfaces to a roof. And now you see that we have a roof added to the model. We'll need to add some walls under the gables. There are two ways we can address this. We can extend the lower wall up to the roof and treat it as a balloon framing, or we can add the walls to the third wall level above. These walls will represent the gable walls. Let's do that. So we'll go to F2 key to go to 2D. Let's switch the drawing model pair to the third level wall layout. We're going to add some walls at the gables. So we'll go to the modeling walls. Select 2x6 exterior bearing wall. Select OK. So I'm going to start at this lower corner so that I know that my exterior side is to the left. Unselect the framing. Lock it in vertical with the I key. And run that up to the other exterior corner. V to confirm. And this time I'm going to go to this side, the upper right corner, lock it in vertical. So I'm in the habit of drawing clockwise. That way I know which side my exterior wall or my exterior side is in my wall. So I've selected my point and I'll bring that down to the opposite corner and V to confirm. Let's look at this in 3D. So hit the F2 key and you'll see that the walls are extending up past the roof. So we can easily fix this. I'm going to hit escape to make sure I'm out of the wall command. I'm going to select the wall. I'm going to clip the wall with the roof. So now that I have the wall selected, I can go up to the top menu and select clip. Now in this window, we can set which end of the wall we want the top of the wall to adjust, to which side of the roof we want it to adjust to the bottom of the roof, and do we want an offset if you want to give it a little gap between the wall and the roof. No, we do not. But if you were to add a gap, do you want the gap to be perpendicular or vertical to the roof? And we'll just hit OK. And you'll see that the wall has been modified and clipped to the roof. Rotate, do the same thing on the other side. You can also right click and access the clip with roof from the menu. Same settings, we'll just hit OK. And there you go. Next, let's add a roof over the room at the back of the house. We will use a basic roof structure for this roof section. If you're using the steel version of Vertex BD, all the steps will be the same. Select the steel materials that have a similar depth to the wood materials selected in this exercise. We will use the basic roof structure for this one. But before we do that, let's go ahead and add ceiling over this room as well. So we need to change the drawing model pair to first level ceiling, since this is on the first level, but we want to add it to the ceiling. We'll go to drawing model pair, first level, ceiling layout. Press the F2 key to switch to the 2D view. Now again, we already have drywall added in this area, so we just need to add the framing. So we'll go up to ceiling. We select 2x8. It remembers our last settings. We remove the drywall, so we'll just select OK. I'm going to add the ceiling by adding points instead. Since we don't have walls going all the way around this room, adding points will be much easier, and we can do it in the 2D view. So we'll right click, and we want to make sure that our horizontal area by bottom plane is set. And we're going to add by using points. To begin, let's select the corner of the wall framing first. Select the U key to lock the horizontal constraint. Select the I key to lock the vertical constraint. Our upper wall is in line with the exterior wall. The floor framing is located in this area. So I'm just going to bring this down perpendicular to the corner of the sheathing. Lock the horizontal constraint with the U key and bring it over to the edge of the wall framing. And lock it in the vertical with the I key and go back to where we started. And V to confirm. Now if we look at this in 3D, you see that we have our ceiling. Now hit escape to cancel. I'm going to go back to 2D though, and I'll make one adjustment to this. We are going to balloon frame this wall. So first we need to select the ceiling. I'm going to bring that edge to the inside of the wall. So bring that to the inside corner. That way our ceiling is on the inside and this wall will be balloon framed up. Let's go back to 3D. And now the ceiling is set back to the inside of the wall. Now we're ready to add our roof. So let's change the drawing model pair back to roof. And let's go to 2D. And zoom in about there. Now we're going to add our basic roof structure. We're going to add a gable, but this time we're going to use the roof gable preset. Click on the gable. Now with a basic roof shape, a diagram appears with the selection points and the order in which they need to be made to create the roof shape. We have a point 1, point 2, point 3. This is how our selections need to be made in order to get this shape on the screen. But we want our gable or our ridge to run vertical. So we need to visually look at this and rotate it clockwise. So if we rotate this clockwise, then our point 1 would be at the top, point 2 on the opposite left corner, and then point 3 down. So you kind of need to mentally visualize this. And also these points that you're selecting are to be on the eave or overhang, not on the wall where our overhangs are. So let's just assume this is a 12-inch overhang that we're going to set. So we'll go in and let's start with our point 1, which will be out here. So I'm going to cue off this corner, which is our framing corner. Hit Q. And I want that to go over to the right 12 inches. And it needs to go up 12 inches in order for our overhang. So that's located 12 inches over and 12 inches up. And now we can lock it in the U key. So point 2 is going to be on the left side. And we're going to cue off this corner. From that corner, we need to go to the left 12 inches for the location of our overhang. Select the I key to lock it in the vertical constraint. And that just needs to butt up against the wall. So we'll butt that up against our sheathing. Now we need to adjust our roof parameters. Let's set this to rafters. We'll leave it at 2x10, 612 is fine. We need to make an adjustment to our parameters over here on the right. Let's change the plate height. So we'll get that from 3D. We'll select this wall. 12 inches fine, seat cut's fine. Hit calculate and select OK. Now we can hit escape to get out of the command, and you can see it added the gable to that roof. Hit F2 key to go to 3D. So next we got to bring this wall up to our roof. So we'll select the wall. And we're going to use a different command this time. We're going to use the stretch. So we'll go up to stretch. We want to select the roof. Select both of them. Keep your finger on the control key to select both roof sections. Right click, select OK. Next, we extend the top of the wall to the bottom of the roof. And you'll see that the wall was extended up to the roof. Now we need to fix the siding on this wall. You'll see that the siding goes in through this roof. So we want to adjust the siding so that it actually ends at the roof and goes around that shape. Select the wall. And then we need to select it again to select the siding. Now we can add points so that we create the shape that we need. Over the middle grip point, we'll right click, select insert point. I want to rotate this around so we get a view like that. And we zoom in, and I want to select that intersection. And we'll select this again. Now you see that we have a point there. I'm going to go over to the middle grip point, which is the square shape. Right click. We're going to add another point. And I'll just drop one somewhere about there is fine. Go back, click, and we can take that point that we added and bring it up to this intersection. Select the wall one more time. Let's go to this side. Bring this corner up. Click on that point. Now you see how the siding is no longer, let me hide that. You see how the siding is no longer extending down into the roof or attic area. Right click to restore hidden. And we have one more adjustment that we need to make. You can see that this is still tapering up into the roof. We need to add one more point. So we'll right click on this middle grip point, insert point, and just click a point somewhere right there. Now select the wall and select it again to get the siding layer. We'll select the point and move that over to about there. And now we hide that. You see that the siding ends right at the edge of the roof. Restore hidden. Let's go over some more features of the roof generator, and we'll also add some additional basic roof shapes. Let's add a structure off to the side of this house. Let's switch to the first floor drawing model pair. So we'll come up to the drawing model pairs, select first level wall layout, hit the F2 key to go to 2D view, and somewhere off to the right, we'll start drawing another structure. I switched over to the steel version of BD to show you the similarities between the two versions. Let's go up to wall. In the steel version, I'm going to select an exterior 5.5 inch thick wall. I'll just select the 5.5 inch 162/54 cc exterior. Leave everything else the same. If you're in the wood version, just select a 5.5 inch exterior bearing wall. Select OK. I'll start out here by just clicking a point. I'm going to go over to the right, hit the U key to lock it in the horizontal or X axis. I'm going to type in 10 feet. Lock it in the vertical axis with the I key. Come down another 10 feet. Over to the left, hit the U key for the horizontal axis. 10 feet. Right mouse click and set to lock cursor vertically, so it automatically sets the constraints. Now I'll pull that down, type in 6 feet. Over to the left, 30 feet. Up, 22 feet. Over to the right, 30 feet. And back down to where I started. Select the start point. And it closes our walls. I'll hit escape. Hit F2 key to go to 3D. And let's move our view over to our new structure. And let's change some wall heights. This area here, which is 10 foot by 10 foot, let's select these 3 walls. Keep your finger on the control key and select the other 2 walls. Right click, and we're going to go into properties to modify the height. I'm going to change the height of this wall. Under the frame layer, under top height, we're going to change that value to 10 feet. That's 120 inches. And select OK. Now the other walls, we're going to change those to 12 feet. Select that wall. Keep your finger on the control key and select the other walls. Right click. Go into properties. Under frame, change the height, top height value to 144 and select OK. And you notice now we have varying wall heights. Now let's add a roof to this structure. Even though our wall heights vary in this structure, we can still use the roof generator to add the roof. Let's go up to floor and roof, down to roof generator. Right click. Since I'm in the steel version, I'm going to select trusses. If you're in the wood version, go ahead and select trusses as well. Under the roof parameters, it remembers the previous settings. I used a 3.5 inch deep top cord. I'm going to leave this setting as is. Let's leave it at the 612 roof pitch. Fascia height is fine at 4 inches as long as it is equal to or greater than the depth of the top cord. Set the eave type to vertical. Now let's make our adjustments to our height. For plate height, I'm going to select Get. I'm going to select that from 3D. I'm going to start with the 10 foot tall wall. So I'll select one of these 3 walls. And leave the overhang at 12. Butt cut, I'll leave at 6. And hit calculate for the eave height. And select OK. Right mouse click and confirm Add by Walls is set. And now I'll select this wall. I'm going to start with the 10 foot walls and then we'll transition up to the 12 foot. So I'll start with this first wall and select the next one. That doesn't look correct, so I hit Control Z, rotate a little. There we go. Now we need to transition over to the 12 foot tall walls. So we'll right click and we need to make an adjustment to our parameters. So we'll come over to this first question mark to the right of the rafter button. OK. And we're going to select our plate height again. Select Get from 3D. And this time we need to select one of the 12 foot tall walls. We'll leave all the other settings the same except for eave height. We need to calculate that again. Select OK. Now we'll select this wall here. Go around. It doesn't look right, so I hit Control Z. Move around until I get a better view. Doesn't like that. Let's back around to this last wall here. Now that all the walls have been selected, press the V key to confirm. And now you see we have our sketch roof added. You can rotate this around so you can see the varying heights. Now hit escape to get out of the command. Now let's make an adjustment to these two side roof planes. Rotate this a little, get more of a top view. We're going to change the pitch to these two roof planes. We are still in the sketch roof, so we can make some adjustments before we convert these over to roofs. So click on the sketch roof. Let's make adjustment to this plane on the left. We'll hover over the middle grip point on the eave, right click, and we're going to come down to Edit Roof Parameters. We're going to change that pitch to an 812. So we'll go from 6 to 8, select OK. And we're going to do the same thing on this plane. We'll hover over this grip point and right click, and select Edit Roof Parameters. Now it knows that there is another point on this roof. We have another point over here that would control this plane. So it wants to make sure that slope includes more than one subslope. Edit all. Yes, we want to edit all these points that are associated with this plane. So hit yes. We're going to change that to an 812 there. And we'll select OK. And we need to do that again for the other point, 812. We had to do it twice because we had a point there and we have a middle point over here. That's why we had to add the 812 pitch twice. Now that we have the pitch set for those two roof planes, we can right click and convert surfaces to roofs. And now you see we have our roof. There is a gap below the roof and the wall. This can be fixed by editing the walls. For this exercise, we will leave as is and focus on the roof. However, we will extend the lower roof over to the wall. Press the F2 key to go to the 2D view. And you'll see that our roof, when we click on the roof plane, it just ends right there. We want to bring that up against this wall. So we'll click this middle grip point. I'll zoom out a little so that that box isn't in the way. We'll click this point. It's already locked into horizontal. And I want to select the sheathing. So it's not locating the intersection snap point. So I'll press the S key to select the intersection point. And do the same thing on the other side. Down here, select that middle point. I'm going to select S, which is the hotkey for the intersection snap. And now it's made that adjustment. Now we're back to 3D. You can see the lower roof is now up against a 12-foot tall wall. Let's add a couple of dormers to this roof. Let's go to 2D. So hit the F2 key. Now you may have noticed that I made a mistake here and I drew the roof on the first wall layout. It's easy enough to fix. I'm going to go in and select each of these planes. Right click and go to Advanced and select Move to another drawing model pair. I'm going to change that to the roof level. And select Yes. Leave as active. Make sure to hit Save. Now that we are on the correct drawing model pair, or on the roof layout, we can add some dormers to this roof. We're going to use the gable standard roof. So we'll select Roof and select Gable. We're going to add two gables to the front of this structure. Now you see that our diagram shows the point 1 and point 2 over on the left side, so we got to mentally rotate this. I want to rotate this counterclockwise, so our points are at the bottom. So point 1 will be out here, point 2 over here, and point 3 up towards the top. I'm going to set a reference off the corner of the wall framing. So I'll select Q. I want to go over to the right 7 feet. But I also want to come down 1 foot for the overhang. I want it to be in line with the overhang. So I'll type in negative 12 inches. I hit enter. And now we have our first point, which is point 1. I'm going to hit the U key, come over to point 2, and that's going to be a distance of, let's make that 6 foot wide. And then lock it in a vertical with the I key And our third point, let's just pick the corner of the ridge, which is fine. Now again, I'm working in the steel version. I'm gonna leave it with the 3.5-inch top chord. Again, if you're in the wood version, go ahead and select a similar depth for the top chord. I'm gonna lower the pitch to 412. Fascia height is fine. Because we don't have a wall here, I'm gonna manually add a plate height. I'm gonna select a 16-foot plate height, so that would be 192 inches. Overhang I'll leave at 12. Butt cut, I'm gonna change the butt cut to, let's just say 4. And eave height, calculate, and select OK. I'm gonna hit escape. I'm gonna take a look at this in 3D to make sure that my roof is at a decent height. It's not exceeding past the height of the ridge, so that's fine. I'll go back to 2D. I'm gonna make a copy of this roof. So I'll try to select the edge of that roof plane, and same on the other side. If you accidentally select the lower roof plane, just go ahead and click on it again to deselect. Keep clicking until you get the same 2 planes as I have. I'm going to right click, select copy. I'm just going to click a point out here somewhere as my reference point and lock it in the U key. I'll type in 10 feet for the distance. Hit return. Now I have 2 roof dormers. Select the F2 key to switch to 3D view. If you rotate to a bottom view, you will see that the dormer roofs extend through the main roof. Rotate this back. I want to make another copy of this structure because we're going to do some other work with dormers. So I'm going to zoom out a little, drag a crossing window around the entire structure, right click and copy. And I'm just going to lock this in the horizontal with the U key and just drag a copy over to the right and hit escape. We'll come back to that model later. Zoom in, rotate this around a little. We're going to clean up the roof intersections. We'll make the left dormer a true dormer and create an opening in the lower roof. The right dormer will be a false dormer, and that'll rest on top of this roof plane. Now to edit this left dormer, we'll work with that one and we'll zoom in. Select the roof, take Control key to select the other plane. We're going to cut the roof so that there's an opening below the roof dormer, and it also cleans the planes that are extending past this lower roof. We use the clip slope command to clean up this connection between the 2 roofs. Once we have the roof selected, we'll come up to clip slopes and expand that menu. And you'll see that we have clip slopes, plural, and clip slope. Now, clip slopes will clip more than one roof slope. Clip slope will only clip the first selected slope. In this case, we want both slopes clipped, so we'll select clip slopes. Now it's prompting us at the lower right corner. It says select another group of slopes to clip with the initially selected roofs. So we'll click the lower main roof. V to confirm. Now, since we have these layers expanded, we get this following message. Layered slopes may not be clipped. Right, continue. We'll select yes. How do you want to complete the cut lines? We'll select automatically. You can manually select the planes one at a time, but we'll just go ahead and select automatically. And you see that we have the lower roof removed. That's underneath the dormer. And if we rotate this around to the bottom, you'll see that the dormer roofs have been clipped with the main roof. Rotate this back. Now we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to use the clip roof command and only clip the top dormer roofs. So we'll select both of these roof planes, go up to the connection menu, select clip slope. At the bottom, it's prompting us to select another group of slopes to clip with the initial selected. We'll select the main roof, V to confirm, select yes again. And if we look at this underneath, You'll see that the lower roof is still intact and the upper roof and the dormer roofs end at the intersection with the lower roof. Now we can adjust how the edge of the dormer roof meets the lower roof. Right now the dormer roof extends down vertically into the main roof. The edge of the dormer roof can be modified so it bears on the lower roof in line with the roof plane. To do that, we'll hover over this middle grip point at the edge of this roof, right click. We're going to trim that edge. You can see the lower roof has been highlighted for selection, so we'll click on that roof. And now when I rotate this around, you can see that instead of the edge going down into the lower roof, it is now on plane with the roof. Let's look at the other side, do the same thing. Select this roof, hover over that middle grip point, right click, and trim edge. And we'll select the lower roof plane. And now the edge is sloping along the lower roof. Now let's go ahead and add one more basic shape to this structure. I'm going to rotate this around. We're going to add a monoslope to the front. Let's hit the F2 key to go to 2D. And we want to make sure that we are on the roof layout. Next, we will add a monoslope roof off the side of the structure. We'll go over to roof. We're going to select mono for a mono single slope. As you can see, our selection diagram shows point 1 to the left, our next selection point, point 2, over to the right, and our third point is towards the middle top edge of the mono slope. And that's sloping up. Let's go ahead and we'll set that corner as a reference, so we'll hit Q off the framing corner. We'll type in 1 foot to the right. We'll come down, so that'll be a negative 3 feet. Hit return. So that's point 1. We'll lock it in the horizontal with the U key. And we'll Q off this corner. Press Q to set the reference point at the corner. Move the cursor to the left and type in 12 inches. And there's our second point. And now we'll pick somewhere in the middle along this wall for our third point. Let's lower the roof pitch. We'll set that to a 212 pitch. The fascia height setting is fine. Again, we don't have a wall to select from, so I'm going to change that plate height to 9 foot, so 108 inches. 12-inch overhang, leave the butt cut, and we'll calculate the eave height. And we'll select OK. And hit Escape. And let's take a look at that in 3D. Press the F2 key for the 3D view. And now we have a monoslope roof added to the model. Now again, we can modify the edge of this connection between the wall and the monoslope roof. You can see the roof is extending into the wall. Come over to the middle grip point, right click, trim to edge, select the wall plane, and hit Escape. You'll see now that it is in line with the wall face. You can also edit the shape of the eave. Select the roof, right click on the middle grip point, and select Edit Edge Shape. If we right click, we have several options in this menu. We can make it perpendicular to the roof slope. We can make it vertical, horizontal edge. We can give it an angle. We can give it a perpendicular fascia height. We can give it an edge by vertical fascia height. We'll select this one. And let's say we want to change that height to 3 inches. Select OK. Now if we zoom out, you can see that it comes down 3 inches now, and from there it runs over horizontal. Let's hit Escape. You'll notice that the dormers are missing the walls. There's an actual component tool under Accessory Components. The dormer tool will automatically clean up the roof and also add the walls. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Let's go to the other structure. Now this one has not been cleaned up. You see that the dormer roof still continues through the lower roof. Let's start with the left dormer. We'll make that dormer a true dormer. That will cut out an opening in the lower roof. Let's go up to Accessory Components. Select Dormer. Now under the Create Dormer window, we want to insert walls. Select the wall type, front wall. Select. I'm going to select exterior bearing 550 wall. If you're using the wood framing, use a 5.5 inch exterior bearing wall. I'll go with the 162/54 and select OK. And it added it also for the sidewall, which is fine. Now, if you want a different type of wall, you can hit select and select a different wall. Now for the front wall top, I want that to clip to the top dormer roof. We could also set a preset height. If you know a height, you can type it in. Now the front wall bottom, it can start from the main roof, or you can start from the floor height. I'm going to insert a floor height. And over on the floor height, over to the right, I'm going to set that as a value of 154. We have a 12-foot tall wall, which is 144 inches. I'm just going to assume a 10-inch floor system, so I'll add 10 to the 144 to come out with a 154 floor height. Obviously, we're not going to frame the floor in this structure. This is basically just to go over the roofs. But assuming we had a 10-inch floor system, I'm going to assume the height would be at 154. Now we can do the same thing for the sidewalls. I'm going to have those clipped to the top dormer roof. And the sidewall bottom start at the same floor height of 154. I'm going to match the overhang to what we have drawn, which is 12 inches for both the front and side. I am going to insert a window. I'm going to select one window. If it was a wider dormer, you could insert 2 or 3. But in this case, we got a very narrow dormer, so I'll select 1. And we can select the window model. So we'll hit select. Takes us to the window library. I'm going to select a double hung 1x, and I'm going to assume that 20 to 10 should fit. Select OK. And I want to adjust the header height. We've got a short height there. I'm just going to guess at about, let's just say 44 inches. These heights you would know probably within your model. If you had a section or a cross section, you would know what these appropriate heights for. But in this structure, we're just kind of going off the cuff and just hoping that these heights will work. We can always make the adjustments if they don't. Now that we've adjusted our settings, we'll select OK. Now it's prompting us in the lower left corner, select our dormer roofs and press confirm. So we'll select the dormer roof, V to confirm, and select the lower main roof. And we want to make sure that we're in the roof layout when we're doing this. And now you see that our dormer roof has been cleaned up. An opening has been created in the lower roof, and our walls have been added. You can rotate. And you can see we have an opening in our roof. Hit escape. Let's do the same thing on this side, but instead of creating a cutout, this is going to be a false dormer. It's going to be resting on the lower roof. Let's go back up to Accessory Components, select Dormer, have Insert Walls. We'll leave the wall types the same. We'll clip the front wall and the side wall to the top dormer roof. Now this time for the bottom, for both the front wall and the side wall, we're going to start from the main roof. So it's going to be built on top of the roof. We'll leave the overhangs the same. We'll leave the window the same. It adjusted our floor height, so I'm going to just change that value back to 154. Leave the header height the same. And this time we're going to uncheck Create Hole in Main Roof. We're going to make this a false dormer, so we do not want a hole. And we'll select OK. Now we'll select the top dormer roof again, V to confirm, and select the main roof. You can see the lower roof through the window. Now if we rotate this around and look at the bottom, you can see that the walls do not extend down. Now let's edit the shingle layer on the roof so that we can remove those shingles from the dormer. Hit the F2 key to go to the 2D view. Zoom out and confirm we are working on this structure with the dormer walls. And we're going to come over to the lower left corner and change the tab over to Model. We're going to select this roof. Now over on the left side, you'll see the roof that was selected, which is highlighted. We have our roof covering, our roof sheathing, and our roof framing. We're going to select the roof covering because that's the layer that we want to work with. Now we'll come back over, right click, and we want to create a hole in that layer. So create hole. We'll click this corner of the framing and click this opposite corner and V to confirm. Select the F2 key to view this in 3D view. And you see that the roofing has been removed from underneath the dormer. Let's zoom out. I'm going to highlight these two structures and delete them. They're not part of the overall project, so I'm going to select delete and F2 key to go back to 2D. Select save. The architectural and pro packages of Vertex BD includes a trim package. We'll add window and door trims to this project, as well as other trim applications. If you do not have the architectural or pro package of Vertex BD and do not have the trim components, you can disregard this section of the video. Let's switch to the 3D view. Hit the F2 key. Zoom in. Let's add some window trims. Let's go ahead and select all the front windows. For multiple selections, keep your finger on the Control key when selecting the windows. After all of the front windows have been selected, go to the ribbon menu under Window and Doors, and there is a tool for adding trims. We'll select trims. We'll zoom in for our window. And we got a preview of our window. We can select the trim that we want to apply. Down at the bottom, we've got a drop down. We can select what type of window trims. You got parametric 1x4. We can do 1x1, 1x4 miter, all kinds of different options. But as you make a selection, you can see that it updates the view. Let's go ahead and add a 1x4 wrap with keyed crosshead. And select OK. If we zoom in, you'll see that our windows now have a trim. We can do the same thing with the front door. Select the door. Go up to trims. And we'll select the same one, 1x4 with keyed crosshead. You can always edit the trim pieces. If you want to remove a trim, you can select the window, come up to delete, and it will delete the trim around the window. So I'll come back to this window, reinsert that trim. That was a 1x4 keyed crosshead. Select OK. Now we can do the same thing with the interior doors. Let's hide the roof. Select the roof and press the H key to hide our selection. We will hide part of the ceiling. Select the ceiling and press H key to hide. I'm going to select one of the interior doors. Press Ctrl A to activate the selection filter. That will select all of the interior doors in the model. You can see through the walls where all our interior doors have been selected. We're going to add trim to all of them at one time. Select trims. Hit the drop down. We're going to scroll down to interior trim wraps. And we're going to use the 1x3 wrap on both sides of the door. And we could do one side, but in this case, we're going to do both sides. We'll select OK. Now hit escape. And you can see that all our interior doors now have trim applied. Rotate this around and you can see that it's on both sides of the doors. We can also do the same thing with the windows. So if we select a window, do Control A, we'll select all our windows. We'll select trims. Select the drop down and scroll down to interior trim wraps. And we're going to select a 1x3 interior side. Select OK. Now you see that our windows have trim placed on the interior side. Now if we right click and set our 3D limits, select the top plane, and we can create a top view of the lower level floor in 3D. Select V to confirm the 3D limit. Now we have a view of the lower floor. Now all of the interior doors, and you can see that the windows also have a trim around them. Now let's add an interior trim to the exterior door. Select the exterior door, select trim. We'll hit the drop down and we'll select an interior trim wrap. Let's select a different wrap. We'll do a contemporary wrap interior side and select OK. And now that exterior door has a trim around it. Let's go ahead and remove the 3D limits. We'll right click, delete 3D limits. And we will restore our hidden. I'll rotate this around. We can also add a trim to our eaves. So if we select the accessory components, select eave trims, we can select the type of trim from our system library. We got a wood trim, trim with gutters. Let's apply a wood trim to the eaves. Let's select a 1x4, select OK. I'm going to select my area, zoom out. I'm going to select, keep my finger on the control key, select the other roof, select that roof, and select that back roof. V to confirm. If I zoom in, I hit escape to cancel the command, you can see the trim boards. We have one along the fascia and one on the rake. Let's add trim to a single corner. To add a corner trim, select the two adjacent walls at the corner. Keep your finger on the control key to select multiple walls. With the wall selected, select Corner Trim from the Wall menu. Select the drop-down button to access the other trim functions such as Corner Trims to custom heights, and delete corner trims. Select the Corner Trim function. From the browser window, select the corner trim from a library. The corner trim library will add trim that matches the standard wall height for the selected walls. Corner trims to roof will add trim that extends up to the roof. Select corner trim 1x4 from the corner trim library. The added corner trims match the standard wall height for the selected walls. Let's delete the trim. To delete, select the two adjacent walls at the corner trim. Select the drop-down button to access the Delete Corner Trims function. And the corner trims are now removed. Let's add trim to multiple corners at the lower roof. Select the adjacent walls at all the corners to apply the corner trim. Again, keep your finger on the control key to select multiple walls. And now with the wall selected, select Corner Trim from the Wall menu. Select Corner Trims 1x4 from the Corner Trim to Roof library. We'll add trims to extend to the roof at the two rear corners. As you can see, the corner trims now extend up to the roof. We can add corner trims that extend up to the two-story walls, all the way up to the roof. Let's select all the adjacent walls at all the corners. Keep your finger on the control key to select multiple walls. And with the wall selected, select Corner Trim from the Wall menu. Select corner trims 1x4 from the Corner Trim to Roof library. We'll add the trims to extend all the way from the first level walls up to the roof. As you can see, the corner trims now extend all the way up to the roof. You can also specify a custom height when adding a corner trim. Rotate the model and select the adjacent walls at the rear corner of the house on the upper level. Select the corner trims to custom height. The first point we'll pick will be at the bottom end of the wall, and we'll select the second point at the top. And select Yes to change to the upper floor level, since the trims will be part of the second level walls. The previous trims are all added from the first level walls. The corner trim with the custom height has been added. Now that the corner trim with the custom height has been added, you can edit the corner trims by extending them to planes for a more precise length. Now you can also add wall trim. Let's rotate this around, and let's add a piece of trim to the front, somewhere along here. So we'll come up to our accessory components, wall trim, select our wall. We'll select the top wall, V to confirm. We have a window that shows two different walls. We have an exterior wall, interior wall, and the different trims. I'm going to select this wall. Now if we look at the lower left corner, it's prompting us what to do. Add a horizontal wall trim piece, select a reference surface. So I'm select the surface, so I'm going to select this exterior surface and select the trim. I'm going to add a piece of wide trim, so I'm going to select this trim here. And I'm going to hit confirm. And I can select my location. I'm going to select this bottom corner. And if it doesn't locate it exactly where you want, you can go ahead and move it. So I'll hit OK or escape. I'm going to take this trim, select move, set this corner as my reference point. Right there, lock it in the O for the Z axis, and put it in line with intersection. So I hit S to find the intersection. You'll see that our horizontal trim piece is running through our corner trim. So we'll select the horizontal board, bring that edge, select S key for the intersection snap. Do the same thing on the other side. Bring that over, and select the S key for the intersection snap. Now that we've added our trim pieces, let's go ahead and hit the F2 key, do a Shift A to zoom all, and hit save. In the next video, we will add dimensions and text to our project.